Annie is, full disclosure, my dear friend.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all know her bio, which is why you're here, which she described to me as Seinfeld, blah, blah, the mom, blah, blah, TikTok, Krispy Kreme, 500,000 viewers, blah, blah, blah. Annie has been writing stories for original grade shows pretty much since the company was founded. And I directed Annie in many of these. Ultimately, I was very honored. I'm sure we'll get that cell phone in a moment. Thank you. Yeah. Ultimately, I was very honored that she asked me to direct her one-woman show that we produced at our former space called Annie Korzen, Famous Actress. And we had such a blast. It was a collaboration between us and artistic director Rhonda Spinak. And really, we spent the days in rehearsal laughing our heads off and creatively creating a beautiful show together that featured her truly funny and meaningful stories, many of which are in, you can see over here, her latest book. I adore her, and believe me, you are in for a treat. After the conversation, anyone here can purchase that fabulous book. She will autograph it to you in person, dedicate it to you or whoever you like. I suggest you might buy a few because they really make terrific Hanukkah gifts. And who doesn't need a good laugh right now? The stories are hilarious. So let's get to it. I will see you all later for the Q&A. And without any further ado, I turn you over to Deborah Vankin.
Thank you guys for coming out in the rain, the spotty rain. God, I've interviewed Annie so many times that I know this intro by heart. So forgive me if you've heard it before, if you've been on Zooms with us before. I promise it'll be spontaneous. Knowing Annie, there'll be lots of spontaneous conversation. But I've known Annie for about 25 years. She's a really close friend, but it hasn't been 25 straight years of friendship. We've kind of come in and out of each other's lives, many years in between. And what's interesting about that is that each time I would reconnect with her, she would have a totally different career iteration. Better when she was just coming off of Seinfeld. A bunch of years later, we reconnected, and she was now doing live theater and storytelling, much of it here. In 2021, we reconnected yet again, and she was a TikTok sensation. I had no idea. I found out because I read about it in the LA Times. There was a big profile of hers, trending on TikTok. And now she's an author, yet another career iteration of this book, which is a beautiful, if you haven't read it, collection of essays from sort of every corner of her life. It's warm, it's heartfelt, it's funny, but it's also really poignant and surprisingly deep and universal. She gets into some stuff.
I have to comment what you just said.
I never get a word like
me. You're a freelance creative person. You have to do more than one thing. And if you're lucky, those 5 different things you do maybe add up to a very modest income. Not any one of them, not any single one of them is enough to live on. That's for sure.
Okay, now that we got that out, we got that straight. Don't go into the arts.
Unless you marry money.
Yeah. The point that I was getting at, though, is that across all of these very different careers, creative careers, she has a really singular voice, I've noticed. And it's the voice of a strong, very funny Jewish woman who tells it like it is. And, I'm going to leave it to her words to give you an example of what I'm talking about here. In her book, she has little jokes that are peppered in the sidelines, in between the essays. And I pulled a couple of them that exemplify this. One of them is, here's the real truth about the miracle of childbirth. It's a miracle that anyone who's been through it is ever willing to do it again. And then my favorite one, I could always hear her voice when I read this one. Shakespeare wasn't Jewish. No Jew would ever write a book called All Is Well That Ends Well. She makes me laugh like no other person. And you'll see it when you pick up her book. But on that topic, since we're talking about being Jewish, I wanted to ask you, many of your characters on TV and even embodied in storytelling, but especially on TV and Seinfeld, are not stereotypically Jewish, but Jewish forward. a sort of Jewish forward, a very Jewish character. I was wondering if being Jewish has helped you in your television career get certain roles. Or has it been a challenge? Oh, you're too Jewish, you look too Jewish.
Definitely negative. It's
Negative.
not good to be a Jewish looking woman in Hollywood. Jewish looking is considered ugly. I play obnoxious characters. I'm good at it. The fact is that, as I said, this is not true for the men, by the way. You know, all those movies, the Schmuck and the Shiksa movies where this really unattractive loser guy ends up with some gorgeous blonde bombshell. We rarely see the opposite. And so, being Jewish, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you one story. I was
hoping you'd tell that story. That's why
I forgot about it. I was supposed to audition, I wanted to audition for a role in a movie, and the director told my agent he wouldn't see me because he said I was too Jewish. And the role was for the role of a rabbi. They hired this cute little blonde. So I always say, you know, if they make a movie out of my book, my role will be played by, I don't know, Jennifer Lawrence. So no, it's definitely tough being a Jewish looking woman in Hollywood. It's not a good thing.
So we were just backstage in the green room and we were talking about this, and you mentioned a TV show, a recent TV show that Nobody Wants This.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's
Yeah,
watched that.
yeah.
And you said you had thoughts about that because of the way they depicted Jewish women.
Because I thought all the Jewish women were such monsters. And I was surprised that other Jewish women I spoke to said, oh no, it's funny, we're not like that. No, we're not like that. The mother is a monster. I'm watching it because I do like some of the dialogue. And it's kind of fun, but I'm such a hypocrite. I'm enjoying it and offended by it at the same time. But you said something before. Something about
being Jewish.
being Jewish and being an older woman. And one of the themes of my book is do not be poisoned by other people's negative opinions of you.
Yeah.
And I have all my life apologized for who I am. All my life I've been told I'm too talkative, I'm too opinionated, I'm too Jewy, I'm too, you know, all these negative, and I felt bad about it. I felt I was unattractive, I felt that men wouldn't like me, and I've apologized, and I did different things, trying to tone myself down. In high school, my parents didn't have the money for a nose job, but I put terrible, horrible things on my hair to try and straighten it. Anything to not be who I was. And the miracle is, what was it when I started TikTok? Just before
2021.
just before the pandemic, just for a week before lockdown, a 30-year-old friend suggested I go on TikTok, which will bring us to another theme soon. And I just this week reached, I have 600,000 followers.
Yeah.
And they stop me in the street, and they're mostly kids, they're mostly young kids. And all the things that I apologized for, they celebrate. They write to me, we love hearing you talk. We love your opinions. We love your storytelling. I love the way you dress. I love your style. I love your hair. I love your look. I'm 87 years old. This is the first time in my life that anybody is telling me that I'm attractive. And now I'm thinking, why did I waste all that time trying to be somebody else? Why didn't I understand that I have value and just do it with pride? And now if somebody says to me, you know something, you talk a lot, I do not apologize. I say, you're right, I do, and you should listen.
That's do you have one too? We have no standards and practices. That's an interesting thing though, because she undersells how popular she is with the young crowd on TikTok. The Gen Z crowd is crazy for Annie. Whenever we go out to lunch or brunch, the waiter will run over, the waitress will run over, and I remember once we were in the farmer's market, and he came running across the crowded room, "Queen, you're my queen!" That, you're right, they got into the whole thing, she received.
I love it, and I have an attention whore. The words that they on me, I'm amused because this is the last thing I mean, I'm in the last chapter of my life. This is the last thing I ever expected. They call me queen, they call me icon, they call me, and you have to understand, for somebody who's always felt ugly and unfeminine, this is an amazing thing that has happened. I just wish it had happened sooner.
Why do you think that Gen Z so resonates with you? What do you think it is
I
about
want you
you?
to figure that out. I'm not being falsely modest here. What do they call it? Humble brag? Is that the?
Humble brag, yeah.
Well, I ask them, I say to them, why do you watch when I meet them in the street or whatever? Or I meet them at Goodwill, a lot of them are thrifters, like. $2.
Real? That's a friend.
Oh, everything I'm wearing is.
Where did you, okay, well, so we're gonna talk later about it.
I say to them, why? Why do you listen to me? And they use this word, I've been thinking about what it means, they say, because you're authentic. And I think by that they mean, they know I'm saying what I think. That's what I've always done. As I say, I've always been criticized. They know that I'm telling the truth, or at least I'm telling my truth. And that seems to be comfort for them. And also, I do think that something good is happening in our culture. I think more and more young people are looking to older women for wisdom and experience. And they're right to do that because we have a lot to offer. And I think this country has always been so ageist, so sexist. It's taken us a while to get. There are cultures where older women are worshipped, celebrated, right? Respected. I think it's just maybe starting to happen now. It started, I hate to be so showbiz, it started with Betty White and it continued with who are the other. There are all these older women that people are looking to. And I'm happy about that. I think it's a good thing.
Not to keep bringing it back to Hollywood, but you have so much amazing experience in Hollywood. Do you think it's easier now as an older woman in Hollywood?
No.
No,
I don't think.
I don't think it's
easier
true.
for an old woman. Well, no, I shouldn't say that, you're right, for famous older women it is.
Yeah.
I mean, they've
You wanna
been
talk
talking
about
about
this?
school movies the last couple of years, where they bring out, they bring, unfortunately, the late, Diane.
Diane Keaton,
Diane Keaton,
yeah.
and who are those others, you must know, well, you've told people, I must know.
Helen
There have been a
Mirren,
bunch of
Diane
movies the last few years where a bunch of women get laid. Party and they get drunk and they get high and they travel. It's been a whole new thing of these raunchy
It's a
old
genre.
women. The movies aren't very good, but I'm glad they're there.
So you think that there are more roles for older women in Hollywood, but that doesn't necessarily translate to the rest of the world. It's not easier to be.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding.
So there are more roles for older women in Hollywood now, maybe, but it's not necessarily easy to be an older woman in America right now.
No, it's not easy. How shall I say it? I was in a restaurant, I was in a restaurant with my husband, the waiter came over to take our drink orders, right? And he says to my husband, would you care for a cocktail, sir? And then he turns to me and says, and how about you, young lady? Now, I know he thinks he's being flirty. I feel offended. I feel he's being condescending. I'm not a young lady. And why is it sir and young lady? Do you understand? I mean, do you think I'm overreacting to that?
No,
Yes, there's something about that. I get that a lot. Oh, and look at you, I'm running over, watching a desk, but oh, nice that you can do that. No, I think I was getting my hair done and I was on my phone. And I said, oh, I didn't know women your age use cell phones.
Did you use your cell phone to show that person who got 600,000 followers on TikTok?
That would have been a good one. But there is this there's often that kind of negative condescending, negative stereotype, or
Yeah.
stereotypical way of thinking about older women. And they're wrong, and I would like to bust that stereotype.
I think that deserves a round of applause. I want to talk about intergenerational friendships. You touched on it earlier. Your TikTok paved the way for the book.
Yes,
The book grew out of the success of the TikTok, but
right.
the TikTok grew out of an intergenerational friendship that you had with a much younger woman, Mackenzie. Let's talk about that because it opened up a whole new world for you
Yeah.
that
Well,
connected you with the
I'm
younger
sorry,
generation.
I'm wearing a hearing aid and I still can't hear. I gotta go back to Kmart. We went to Kmart one day, and I'm not exaggerating, we went to Kmart, we bought 2 computers. Wait a minute.
Let's talk
We
about
got
Kmart.
hearing aids, 2 computers and a roast chicken.
Wow.
No, I was to say, the thing about intergeneration, I am at an age where I am experiencing all kinds of loss. Okay, my friends are dying or dead, my family, I'm losing a lot of lifetime connections. And it's very hard because you can't replace, I don't know if I have anybody left in my life, I may have 1 or 2 cultures who still remember my parents. When you start losing connections like that, you're losing a lot of yourself. And so there are different ways of dealing with it. One is being part of communities. I have some neighbors here today. I live in a very neighborly community, and I have neighbors here. We have our own kind of community. Being in a theater group was another kind of community. But I have found that relationships with much younger people kind of, they get something from me and I get something from them. And I think it's very foolish if you grow older to stay in your own little group, because you're gonna lose that. And you gotta have something to replace them with, you know. And being a member of this theater company, years and years ago, we had 2 members, Abby Mary Fader and Lisa Tuccione. They used to drive me. So the 3 of us were kind of friendly. During those years, Abby was trying to get pregnant. This went on for years. Lisa was trying to find a guy and have a family. This went on for years. And I and Susan, the old people of the group, we all would hear it that 3 weeks ago, I was invited to a Shabbat dinner. Abby and her husband and her 2 kids. Lisa and her husband and her 2 kids.
Oh.
And I was the esteemed grandma, okay? And I felt so privileged. And I felt I was part of the family. And I felt I guess what I'm saying is you got, like, in a lot of Monica's show, you have to keep recreating families in your life. But it's not gonna happen if you sit home.
And I just to weigh in, because from the other side of that perspective, Annie and I are friends socially. Like I said, we've been friends for more than 2 decades. Having friends that are 20 and 30 and 40 years older than you, and the wisdom that you get, and yet at the same time, there's this connectivity that is ageless. There's a girlfriend connectivity that has nothing to do with age, that's sort of universal. Like we could both be 25,
We talk about each other's outfits.
fashion, she's at dating, on the way over here, I told her about the guy on
The
Hinge,
guy,
that
the
ate his ex-wife's earrings. That's another story. But yeah, it's nice from the other side to cultivate friendships that are just, friendships are fluid.
I'm curious, how many of you do that? How many of you have friends of different ages? Not everybody, but quite a few of you. It's very important, it's very precious, you're gonna get a lot out.
And one of your younger friends is how you got onto TikTok. I was wondering if you could tell, because it's so unusual to become a TikTok star in your mid-80s.
Well,
How did you
I'm
get-
glad you asked me that because
get
that's
onto that?
actually one of the other themes of the book, besides not apologizing for who you are. I discovered, actually is how I got on Seinfeld in a way, is that your mantra should be, when somebody's offering you something that you're not sure about, your answer should be, yeah, why not? Because if you don't do so, I don't regret anything I've ever done, I only regret the things I haven't done. So if you're open to something, so this young friend I had, she said, you should be on TikTok, and I thought, this is the stupidest, craziest idea I've ever heard. TikTok is for 20-somethings shaking their booties, putting on makeup. Who's gonna wanna see me? And I went into that negative thing. Who wants to see this ugly old Jewish talkative woman on TikTok? And she said, trust me, you will go viral. I said, okay, if you help me set it up. I said, yeah, why not? And we went viral almost as soon as we started, which I still don't quite understand, but I'm saying, if you're open to things, so this brings me back to Seinfeld. When one day my agent called and he said, there's a new show, I don't know much about it, there's a small role, it's only a few lines. And a better known actress at my agency had turned it down. Because she said, oh, I don't know, it's just a few lines, I don't think it's worth it for me. And I said, well, yeah, why not? And I auditioned a job. I auditioned by taking my life in my hands because I had to drive from West LA to Burbank. And I accidentally got on the freeway. 10 minutes to go. From, island to. Anyway.
Seinfeld episode right there. Seinfeld episode.
It was really, and I got the job and I didn't know. I mean, it was a pleasant day's work. I didn't know that they would call me again. I didn't know my role would occur. I didn't know that being on that show raised my stock in the business, because if you say you had a recurring on Seinfeld, all kinds of doors open for you. I did maybe 4 or 5 episodes. Since 91 till now, I've probably earned a residuals over $100,000 on that, on those few lines. But it's more than the money, it just made me a different person in the industry. So that actress turned it down. She should have said, yeah, it's a taste mark, why not? You don't know what's gonna come out of doing something. And I think people tend to be too, oh, no, I don't know, I don't think that's for me. No, I don't think I would like that. That is the stupidest excuse for not doing anything. Anyway, so those are the 2 main things of the book. Don't apologize for who you are and be open to bizarre adventures. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the book covers so much territory, from an essay on loud, noisy neighbors to the birth of your son in Denmark. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. There's some deeper.
My husband's Danish, by the way.
Yeah,
Very unusual. Danish too.
I
Very
bet.
unusual.
he's watching right now.
He can figure it out.
Hopefully, we're trying to help him. He might be stuck in the waiting room. So, but can you talk about, are there any chapters in the book that were difficult to write? Because most of them come off, you can really hear your voice. They sound as if you just sort of wrote them in the shower, and they're funny and they're light. And then there's some that are more serious that might have been more difficult to write.
The chapter that was most difficult to write was about a very low and terrifying experience in my life. But the strange thing is, I'd written it first for this theater company. And even at that time, when Wanda brought it up, she said, would you write about your postpartum depression? And I said, I'm not sure that I can. I'm not sure that I want to revisit that. I'm not sure how I would make it funny. And she said, well, just get started, just try it, just see what happens. She's a very manipulative way. Getting a reluctant artist, just give it a try. And again, I said, well, yeah, why not? I'll give it a try. And as I worked on it, I realized not only was it a great piece, but it was very healing for me to do it and to see it under a comedic point of view. And it's become one of my signature stories. As a matter of fact, in December, I'm going to Atlanta to perform a differently developed version of it for the Moth. You all know the Moth? Do you listen to the Moth?
I
You
do.
should. How many of you know the Moth? Oh, you should. Those of you who like stories, go to themoth.org and listen. It's the major storytelling organization in the world. And when they do a show like the one I'm keeping to in Atlanta, it will be something like 2,000 people sold out in the audience.
You're a mock Grand Slam finalist or Grand Slam
No,
winner?
no, no, I started with just doing the main stage
The
show,
main stage.
but it took 9 years. Every time I would send them, I would do something, I would send them, hi, I'd love to work with you. Yeah, we're not ready for it yet, just keep selling, and at the end of 9 years, I thought, I can't keep taking this rejection anymore. I know I belong there and they don't want me. And I said to my husband, that's it, I'm stopping, and the next day. Annie, this is Catherine, head of the board of New York, thanks for being so patient. But we want you to do, we want you to come with us to Berkeley, New York, St. Louis, and then we want you to be our next book and blah, blah, blah. And we can't wait. We're so glad you're finally available to. That's how long it's when you want something. I am not in any way an overnight success. Everything I've done has taken forever.
In the book, you give a lot of pearls of wisdom and bits of advice like you're giving us today. Say yes. Don't be afraid to say yes. Keep at things over and over again. All of these themes that you're talking about right now. Reach out to friends of multi-generations. I'm wondering if there was a piece of wisdom or advice that you've gotten in your life from someone else that's made a difference.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
I always have to bring you one
I
singer
know,
each time.
I
Yeah.
just heard about, sometimes when people say, and it could be, and they're not necessarily older Jewish women. I mean, I have a young gay friend from the South, so he'll say something, well, my mama used to say, if there's room in the heart, there's room in the house. And there's something I like about that. It means, no matter how modest your circumstances are, you can still find a way to show love, to show hospitality. I mean, that's a just very minor one, but I know, I can't think of them offhand, but absolutely, I will learn from other people's stories. That's why I love the storytelling world. Because I like hearing everybody, almost everybody, has a story, and I find them inspiring.
And you're a TV junkie, talking about stories. I didn't know this about you until recently, that you're like a TV addict.
Oh, I love it. I love telling.
Like what? What are you watching?
10 to at least 1 in the morning every night.
What are you watching right now, aside from Nobody Else's?
I just finished Diplomat. Okay, who's been watching Diplomat? Brilliant, right?
Yes.
Brilliant. What am I watching? I'm watching this new show. I like mysteries and thrills. This one is called something like Down Cemetery Road.
Yeah.
Are you watching
With
that?
Emma Thompson.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love it. And there's so many. Oh, and I've been going back and I'm watching sitcoms that I never watched. So I'm watching The Office, the American version of
Oh my God.
And I'm doing the same thing with Mom. And unfortunately, I married a man who only likes news and spin. So we're not watching too many of these together. But I do love television. I do. I love the dramas. I love all the Law and Order franchises. I love sitcom. I love it all.
And in terms of books, do you have, this came out 2 years ago, this book?
At the time to remember, it probably says it inside.
I think we've been doing this for about 2 years, this show. That's why I have to throw you a zinger every time. Do you have another book in you? Is there something mulling or some?
Book that's almost ready to go. I mean, it could be easily done. It's with a friend of mine he was a camp. Do any of you know who Donnie Massang is? Does that name mean anything to you in the Jewish world? He's a very famous, he's not everything. He's a composer, he's a cantor, he's a speaker, he just became a rabbi. And he's one of my many friends who's very, very spiritual. And at one point, he studied to be a Buddhist monk. So it's not that he knows everything about every religion and loves them all. He loves Jesus and he loves the Dalai Lama and he loves his Jewish traditions. And And I am totally the opposite. I don't have a spiritual, I don't own a belief in my body. We wrote something together called something like a believer and a cynic walk into a bar. Discussing it was back and forth. And you know something? I cannot bring myself to actually take it to the next step because the chore, publishing the book is not the hard part. The hard part is afterwards getting people to know about it. And that's almost a full-time job. And I don't want to be selling another book. You know what I mean? People think, oh, I want to get a book published. Publishing is a very
Labor
stressed
intensive.
industry right now. Unless you're a big star, the publishers do nothing. There's no promotion, and you have to do it all yourself, and I'm not sure I wanna take that on. It's been fun, and doing this is fun, but then having to deal with another person, I hate other people.
Except for you guys.
Having to work with another writer and say, are you available to do this podcast? And should we go here and do this? I just don't know if I can face it.
So aside from books, because we've been talking a lot about reinvention and how many times you've found new creative paths in your many careers, what would be next creatively for you, if not a book?
Oh, well, I love doing this. I love doing, and I'm still working as it. Suddenly I'm getting more work as an actress. I haven't worked since, I don't know, we had the pandemic and then we had COVID. And now the last 2 months, I've had 3 big TV shows. Yeah.
Like
I
what?
think what it is that my competition is dying off.
That's the patient teach you That's the truth.
Fortunately, I had to sign, what are they called, NDA, I want to say DA.
NDA.
Because the shows haven't aired yet, but they're all big shows with big stars and I have nice scenes in them.
Oh, wow.
And that's 3 in 2 months. I never work 3 in 2 months, so I like doing that. That's fun. And actually, you talked about Emerson. I love teaching. I'm going to teach at Emerson again.
Emerson College.
Yeah, I love teaching, and I teach what I do. I teach writing and performing the personal essay, the personal story. I love that. I still do. I'm not gonna go into detail, I had a very, very bad thing happen. My social media manager turned to be a thief. So that's been bad, but it's being taken care of, and I got my money back. And he cleaned us out. It was a professional con man, I had no idea.
Are you gonna write about that? Is there a way to make that funny at all? Are you gonna write about
I'm not ready to make it funny yet. But it put me on anti-anxiety, like.
Oh, my.
But the thing is, he's been arrested, not on my charge, but he's been arrested on a real estate scam in New York. This is the guy who's a professor, and it's interesting, all these guys now, all these scammers. Where have they lost their empathy? How does that happen? I keep asking myself.
They probably didn't have it to begin with.
Yeah.
I would guess.
Yeah, no, they didn't have it, but how do kids grow up without empathy? And this guy, we called his father, who's a lawyer, and said, we're looking for your son, can we find him? He says, I don't know where he is, but if you find him, I hope he goes to jail. So he already knows that his son is damaged, but how does that happen? I don't know.
We have time for about one more question, and I kind of wanted to bring it back full circle because we started talking about the Jewish stuff. And I kind of wanted to bring it back to that. You mentioned a cynic and
Yes.
a cynic and a rabbi. Well, I was just wondering, you identify as a Jewish woman,
Absolutely.
but you're not religious.
Absolutely.
And
You don't, I think
speak
Jews
to
are
that.
the only people who can do that.
Yeah.
Be a secular Jew, right? You can't be a secular Baptist, you either are or you are. Or you aren't. But I love our traditions. I love the literature, I love the humor, I love the food, which you can only love if you grew up with it.
Fire taste. Some of
I
that.
did a Seder with a couple, but there were some Gentiles there, and I just felt bad for them. It was great, all the food was great, the soup was great, like the filter fish is great, the chicken was great, I mean, it's, but I cherish all that. So I definitely consider myself a Jewish woman, whether or not I believe in that God in the Old Testament is irrelevant.
Yeah, great.
Thank you so much for letting us.
I am gonna insert myself here again so everyone can see me, you in the room and the folks on Zoom. And what we're gonna do now is open it up to all of you for a Q&A and see if any of you have any questions for our Annie or Deborah. Both of them are so interesting. Yes, right here, back there, sure.
So what do you do for,
Uh,
what do you do for fun?
What do you do for fun?
What does she do for fun?
You know, I discovered that the most fun really is sitting and eating and drinking with friends and family. I don't think there's anything better than that. So if I can, that's what I do. If I get invited out or if I have some people over, I do love that. But I mean, we try to get out and I'm not as cultural as I used to be because I hate cars. I hate this car culture that we're in. So I don't go with theater as much as I'd like to. I don't go out as much as I'd like to. But I want to be with people. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
I'm a huge Seinfeld fan, and I wondered if you could tell us one or two episodes that you
Oh,
were at.
I'm in some of the classic episodes. I'm in the Pen and Raincoats and the Cadillac. And then they gave me I do a second character, once again, an obnoxious airline passenger on the airplane. So those are four of really some of the, I got lucky, I'm in some of the classic episodes.
Yes.
You'll see.
Right. Thank
Annie
you.
has a joke about that she says in her book. She says, my favorite soothing sound is not the sound of a baby cooing or a lake trickling. It's the sound of the airplane, the sound of the seatbelt sign going off when you're on an airplane.
Right, right. Right, the ding when.
She tells it better
when you
than
don't
I
have to wait.
Great, right here on the jaw.
Hi.
My question is, I know you're teaching at Emerson College, and I like the course that you're teaching when you're talking about it. Will you be doing it at another venue other than going to Emerson? Can you do it?
I really should do something on Zoom or at home. I just haven't looked into that. If you're interested, let me know. If we can put a group together, let me know.
Right, Annie, actually, I will say that Annie taught with us for a while, right, that's where it's right, did a writing workshop and we can talk about that possibility also happening again. Yeah, I saw a few more, yes, Heidi.
She has a wonderful story.
Thank you that you remember that. Thank you so much. I identified with you about getting older and then losing a lot of people, you know. But I have a difficult time finding a way to reach out to intergenerational friendship.
Yeah.
Because the younger people are so busy. Even my kids and grandkids, they like to socialize, but they're busy. How do you overcome that barrier?
So let me just repeat the question for Zoom. It's about how to make those intergenerational relationships when the younger generation seems so busy.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that. I think you have to be patient. When I make a date with Deb or with Mackenzie, the young woman who started me on TikTok, it's not gonna happen the next day. We kind of try and plan quite a bit in advance. You're quite right. The young people are overloaded. They're so busy and they're so struggling and life is not easy for them. Financially, professionally, and personally. So yes, it takes doing. Like anything else you do, you have to commit to it and make it work. This dinner that I had with the two, that maybe took us 3 months to schedule. 3 months to schedule a simple Shabbat dinner.
But in terms of meeting younger people, if you're wondering about that, there's also, just, I would say, follow your interests. If you're interested in, pottery making classes or art classes at LACMA or
Social activism.
social activism, volunteerism, there are a lot of young people involved in, political activist groups and that sort of thing. And if you find something that aligns with
Right.
you'll meet like-minded people.
And classes. big believer in classes.
Yeah, classes.
Any group behavior.
Yes, over here. I love that we have a lot of questions.
Hi, I was listening to you. How did you get started in acting?
How did Annie get started in acting?
Like everything else I've done, it was long and slow and painful. I did everything, you know, I was in New York, I did extra work, I did street theater, I did one line of stuff, I did a lot of good classwork with a famous, but a very, very brilliant teacher. But like everybody else, I just kept making a little progress, a little progress, and a little progress. And then I realized that I could also write, so I started combining the writing and the acting.
Yes, right, Nancy.
So I'm a teacher and retired teacher. Growing up, do you remember like a childhood memory that you'll never forget?
Oh, I have many of them, they're
It's
not
about
traumatic,
childhood
I have to
memories,
tell you.
right?
I did not have a great childhood, so most of my childhood memories are of feeling insecure or embarrassed or humiliated, ashamed of my family, ashamed of my home. It's not a happy story. The happy part of it is I have a lovely home and a lovely husband and a great, so I managed to survive my background, but it wasn't a wonderful background, so I don't want to share those dark stories.
This is actually a theme for many comedians, by the way, who develop their comedy because their childhood. So
They always say comedy is turning your pain into money.
that's right, that's right. So there's two over here, I'll leave the lady in blue first and then the lady in green.
So in the current atmosphere of the proliferation of anti-Semitism, have you felt the effects of that in your world?
I haven't felt it personally, but I mean, I feel it personally when I watch the news, which I try to avoid.
Yeah.
I think it's terrible. And then what happens to me, people see me as some kind of, I'll go on an interview, and they, so, as a Jewish woman, what do you think of the situation in the Middle East? And I'm thinking, why are they asking me that? No expertise in that. I have no, you know,
Yeah.
they seem to feel that I have to defend Israel
Right.
as a Jewish woman. That gets very complex and unpleasant for me, you know.
Hmm.
But I'm not happy about anything that I see in the news. So I try to avoid it. What's going on lately? Is that?
It's all bad. Can we take a look? Yes, go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you for delight and to listen to.
Yes, this person just noticed that Annie is a pure delight.
Oh,
And thanked her.
thank you.
And now I'll repeat her
I have
question.
to shout everybody, I've got
That's
senior
okay.
ears.
I'll repeat it for you.
Okay.
I was thanking you. Okay, you mentioned your community. It sounded so special. I wanted to know, is it back in Boston, near Emerson, or is it here in LA?
Oh, you should
Your
clarify.
community.
Where you live?
You were
Oh,
talking
where I
about.
live, it's right here in my park. Raise my hand.
Vankin is on the left side of the room.
Yeah. You live in Park La Brea. I should have said that.
Don't come.
Hey, Park La Brea is huge.
Yeah. Don't get lost.
Get lost.
Try to find a living where you're very close to your neighbors, and so you have to, if you don't get along with your neighbors, you're in a lot of trouble. We have an amazing community and of a bunch of women. And the funny thing is, we're very diverse. We have Black families, we have Korean families. Guess who the only family was that I didn't get along with? Orthodox family who walked around while she had COVID in the laundry room.
Right.
And I said, put on your mask. I don't have to. My rabbi says women are not contagious. I was the only neighbor I had, and I screamed and cursed her. And the other, we had an Indian family and a Korean, they're not like that. And they said, did you hear what Annie said?
I'm gonna ask Deborah to clarify something because you mentioned Emerson being in Boston. I was asked about the community, and I believe that both Deborah and Annie teach at Emerson in Los Angeles.
Emerson has an LA campus on Sunset Boulevard. If you've ever seen that modern
amazing
building right across from Netflix in Hollywood on Sunset. So a lot of the kids, it's a filmmaking school. They come out here for their last semester. They do internships. They take classes with screenwriters and storytellers like Annie. And I teach an internship class there.
And did the two of you meet at Emerson College? Or how did you meet?
Oh, God, no, we met more than 25 years ago. Yeah, through our mutual friend Laura Friedman.
Laura Friedman, well, her first job
Our
in the
congresswoman.
industry was working for my husband. And then she became studio executive, she became a national billiards champion, and now she is in my area. She's our
She's our latest congresswoman. She took Adam Schiff's seat in the
congresswoman.
House. So she went from the politics of Hollywood to the real politics of the US.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before I get to Rachel, I just want to ask, is anyone from Zoom? No Zoom questions. They're just enjoying listening to all of you. Yes, you, and then we'll wrap up.
So can we get a copy of your manuscript of the rabbi and the? Thank you.
I don't think so.
Not yet, anyway.
It's not, I can't do that, but thank you for your interest.
And Rachel?
One Zoom question. Which Jewish actresses of the past do you admire?
Which Jewish actresses, this came from Zoom, which Jewish actresses of the past does Annie admire?
Well, there haven't been that many of them, but if you read Barbara Streisand's autobiography, it's pretty impressive. And I feel guilty that I accuse her of all the bad things that I what's the word, ingested when you,
Internalized.
I internalized all the criticism about her.
Huh.
And then when I read her biography, I thought, oh, wow, what this woman has done. So that was quite inspiring. It was quite, but I don't know, who are the famous Jewish actresses?
Hinder crickets.
The room falls silent.
The room falls silent. There was one more question here in the back. Yeah, go ahead.
And yeah, my question for you is, when you envisioned your last chapter of your life, did you have something you were thinking you'd like to accomplish, or was it kind of, you seem like a lot of spontaneity in your life, like things happen like happenstance?
This is about whether Annie had a master plan for when she'd be older, or if she's very spontaneous.
I always thought I'd like to keep doing what I'm doing. I like acting, I like writing, I like performing. I always wanted to just keep doing that. I didn't imagine that I would become a celebrity. I'm still embarrassed by the word influencer, but that's what I'm.
No air quotes.
So in a way, I'm doing what I hoped I would be doing, and I'm healthy and functional enough to do it. But it's a miracle.
Quite fantastic. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Oh, yes, of course.
What you have to be is stubborn. I've never thought of that before. You just have to be stubborn. You know what you want. Just stubbornly go after it. You have to stubbornly defend yourself. You have to stubbornly be confident and make your own way into getting, you know what you need, you know what makes you happy. You have to work towards it.
Yes.
Well, the wisdom is never ending. And, I'm going to thank you all for coming, but I just want to let you know very quickly a few things that are upcoming at the Braid, both on Zoom and in person. First of all, in person, we have coming up here just the weekend of December 13th and 14th, a wonderful new one-man show called The Jewish Question, which is a comedic, thoughtful look at where we find ourselves today. And this is very engaging. The script is beautiful. The guy draws you into, it's about an hour long, and that will be here at the Braid, December 13th and 14th. I think the tickets will be up on our website in the next day or so. On the 21st of December, if there are young people in your life We have a fantastic event that's for kind of our, what we call our young professionals who are in their 20s and 30s and 40s. And that event entails some socializing and then a shorter version of our signature salon shows. This one is called, it's part of our, it's Hanukkah themed, and it's called Dreidel Diaries 2. We did one last year. This one is called Spinning Out. So it's a bunch of stories about whatever that connotes for you, spinning out of control, spinning out. Yeah, it's quite a good thing. And then they have sort of a game night afterwards here. So it's very, the people of that generation are finding they need, like you, to be in the room with someone. They don't always want to be in front of their screens. And so we're providing opportunities for that to happen. And finally, in January, our salon season starts at the break. We have 3 original shows in January, March, and May. One of our patrons is applauding. It's going to be a beautiful season. We're calling it a very Jewish season that everyone will enjoy. And, it's part of our larger mission this particular year, our 18th or Chai season, to elevate and celebrate who we are. So there are some postcards out front where you checked in that are available for you with all of that. And if you haven't yet, we invite you to join our community. All you have to do is go to our website, the-braid.org, and you'll see contact us and you'll get on our email list and you'll hear about all our Zoom events. We Zoom all those shows for the Zoom audience specifically. And I encourage you to be a part of our community, all of you. At this time, if you are here, if you're on Zoom, you can rush over to Amazon and order that book. It's worth it, believe me. And anyone here in the room, Annie's going to sit over here where we have the books on display, and she will spend a moment with you and dedicate it to you or anyone that you like, and maybe even take a picture with you, and you'll get to have that extra experience. Yes, ma'am.
How much is the book?
How much is the book? It's $25 here, personally autographed to you. And great. Well, with that, I'm going to say goodbye to our Zoom audience. Please sign up and join our community. Thank you for being part of this first ever dual experience. We really appreciate you. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us today.